Few people understand the land office. Even fewer people understand that the land commissioner is one of only 2 elected officials to sit on the state's investment council. Then there's appointed members, but there's only 2 elected officials to sit on the council. And over the last 8 years, we've literally seen over the $280 million lost or stolen or shipped out of state because of pay to play or whatever. And I said, that's enough. You know, and the one thing that I've said from the beginning that I would do is we will stand up, and if we see something going on that's wrong, we're going to be in a camera, we're going to be talking to the media saying, hey, this is not right. We have got to protect the money that's coming into the office, because when we don't protect the money coming into this office, we're taking money from kids' education. And that has got to stop. I mean, we're on the verge of laying teachers off in this state, and that's ridiculous. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm. So when you get to state investment, when you become a member of the State Investment Council, as is part of the Land Commissioner gig, what would you do to try to right the ethical situation?
You know, there's been some changes made on the council over the last year, because it was in such a disaster and has been such a wreck that they have made some changes to the council. They put other people on the council. They changed the membership makeup on the council. But I've said, as commissioner, I will be incredibly vocal when we see something going on. If I can't, as one vote on an investment council, if I can't make the difference of something that's not right on the council, then I need to be in front of people telling people this is what's going on and we need your help to stop it. I think all of us in New Mexico are, I think we're all tired of the politics as usual in New Mexico and the corruption that's been going on in this state, and we're ready to stand up and say, hey, we're a better state than that. And there's really 2 aspects to this office. That is, the number one is to generate revenue for kids for the education system. And secondly, though, it is to be a steward of the land and protect our lands and take care of our lands so that they are held in perpetuity for future generations. And I've said, we can look at, obviously, with the budget deficits that we're facing in the state government is going to be turning to the land office saying, how can you generate more money? And we have to walk a fine line of taking care of our state trust lands and at the same time generating that revenue. So I've said, in the short run, if we further develop areas that, southeastern New Mexico already has vast amounts of production. And there's areas that haven't been opened up down there. Well, I would rather us open up something in that area that's already under production than trying to go to a whole new area and start in a wilderness area. We need to protect some areas, and we can expand current production where it lies, and try to make that balance as effective as we can. We have to protect our groundwater first and foremost. That has to be an absolute priority. The pit roll was actually initiated for groundwater protection. My problem with the pit roll is when politics come into play, then it becomes a political issue, not a protection issue, which is what happened with the pit roll. The year before the pit roll, we had 1,100 wells in the state because of the increased regulations and increased burdens that it put on an industry. They just left New Mexico. And they went to Texas, they went to Arizona, they went to Colorado. The year after, we had 600 wells in production in New Mexico. So they just left the state. All of them have said, we're willing to abide by the rules as long as we can make it a fair playing field with the other states. So I've said, why don't we advocate, okay, let's keep the pit roll as it is if we need to, because we absolutely have to protect our groundwater. At the same time, if it's costing an industry more money, then give them a tax credit for the additional cost that we're putting on them as a state so that they're willing to stay here, so that we don't end up, shooting ourselves in the foot while trying to do what's right. My big thing with leasing public lands to developers is that there's really twofold. Number one, and one thing that most people don't understand, is the state land office cannot develop state trust lands. We cannot do any improvement on state trust lands. And that's a good thing, because what that does is keep a land commissioner from being speculative with our lands, and that's good. So you have to work out a partnership. If there's a development that you want or that a community wants, you have to work out a trade with a developer so that they're willing to put the investment in, they're willing to take that risk, and at the same time then put into a profit share. And this is one thing that I think is absolutely essential. Any kind of profit sharing or leasing that's done with a developer needs to be in the best interest of the trust, first and foremost. Meaning, if there needs to be a 50-50 profit or 60-40, it either needs to be even or benefiting the trust more than the developer, period. And that's one area where me and my opponent and I disagree. I mean, when he served as commissioner before, he signed a lease with the developers of Mesa del Sol, and they gave them 86% of a profit, and the land office took 14%. And I disagree with that. It has to be in best interest of the trust first and foremost. My opponent and I disagree. My opponent is supportive of the reintroduction of the Mexican gray wolf, and I am not. And we've both been very honest with that. And I appreciate people's passions on both sides of the aisle, but at the same time, I'm also very honest with my opinion. I don't want to try to be something that I'm not. My biggest concern with the wolf issue right now is, we're spending tens of millions of dollars on this program to get this project started. It's been marginal at best in success rate. Was visiting with his name just left my head. He's a gentleman who's been in charge of the project. They're not even sure that the funding is going to continue with the project. Anytime we're on the verge of laying teachers off from schools and we're focusing on and spending tens of millions of dollars on a marginal project, I think we need to readjust our priorities. I would much rather take care of our kids, of our teachers first, and then look at some other aspects of development.
Is the wolf reintroduction project being state funded or federally funded?
It's a federally funded project.
Mm-hmm. And then the money for the schools is more state, right?
Both. I mean, we obviously get money from the feds and the state, but of course from the land office. We don't directly have an impact on that. No, not unless it's dealing on state trust lands. So that's
So what are you? So I guess the other than the money involved with the wolf reintroduction project, the issues that you have with it are the issues that you have based more on the way that the reintroductions being done. Do you think it should not be happening in the state at all? Do you think it should be happening in a different way?
No, and I've said publicly before as well that when you visit with people on the western side of the state who are impacted by the wolf, who have had to start dealing with the reintroduction of the gray wolf. I mean, it's impacting people's livelihoods. It's impacting people's ways of life. Food production on the western side of the state has been impacted by it. So, I'm not a supporter of the reintroductory process at all. And when you visit with people from over there, I think that's one thing that we all get into is, we get into our own groups, and when an issue is not directly impacting us, it's easy for us to have an opinion, and we need to make sure that we bring those people to the table so that we understand their side of the story as well. And when you go down over to the western side of the state, that's one issue that it truly has impacted people's daily lives. And it's easy for us. It's not an issue personally for me on the eastern side of the state. It's not an issue personally for anyone in Albuquerque, but it is personal for those people, and I think their opinions definitely